It's league night, everybody, and I am joined with Jamie Thomas, also by Josh Graham, and special guest tonight, Zach Kuykendall.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show, Zach. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Ready to talk through some epic disc golf battles of the last weekend and get your guys' takes on everything that went down.
Awesome to have you, Jamie. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's talk about what happened at the Masters Cup. Tell us what you saw. What went down?
It's classic as it can be. The Masters Cup back on the tour rotation, a Silver Series, the fourth one of our Pro Tour season, and Ganon Burr, Sarah Hokum breaking through, getting their first wins of the year. Big props to both of them. They did it each with a bogey-free, clean sheet final round out of the De La Muni course after 2 days of battling it out at the prestigious and very traditional De La Viega disc golf course. It was a battle in FPO. Sarah Hokum from the chase card taking this one down. Katrina Allen was trying to give the lead card the business as well from the chase card, but just 2 bogeys at the end. Guys, we almost saw a playoff from the chase card in FPO. Like, what else can this division do this year to continue to impress? Fantastic battle over there. Ganon Burr outlasting James Conrad and a charging Matt Oram. We've been missing Ganon a little bit since that second place finish in the playoff at Las Vegas Challenge. We'll see if this can jumpstart what he's doing for the rest of the year. And of course, we'll move on to the OTB Open this coming up weekend. Santa Cruz, classic as a California breeze, guys. That was a lot of fun this weekend.
For sure. Smooth as a California breeze. I love it.
I just to share 2 things on that, right? Classic. In fact, you saw Paul Macbeth do a post prior to the event. He didn't have the great weekend as he would have liked, but I like this simple post on Instagram. Santa Cruz, California, De La Viega, a lost art. There's something to be said for that. There's obviously discussion surrounding that as well. And by the way, for Sarah Hokum, she posted, "I'm elated to drive away from Santa Cruz as the 2-time Masters Cup champ. A decade ago, I won this event and it propelled me to 2 more elite wins and a world title that year." So fond memories from her back again. I'm sure she's hoping the same. Obviously, we've seen Ganon have a good year so far, and pulling out this win, I'm sure he's excited.
Totally excited. All right, let's move out of this recap of the Masters Cup. And we brought Zach in tonight because Zach is going to introduce us to a new segment here, a game, I believe, called Guess the Presser. Zach, give us a quick intro to this before we get started.
All right, it's time to have fun, guys. So right here in this game, pretty simple. Essentially, you're going to get one quote from a player on tour that they gave in a press conference, either before the event, midway through the event, or after an event. You will have 15 seconds to guess who said it. It's chaos, free for all. Give your guesses as soon as you think of who said it. From there, we'll have a few seconds to kind of review the answer, and then you'll get to see who said it, who ultimately said the clip, right? So should be a lot of fun. Curious to see how much you guys remember from the pressers over the course of the year.
Wow. So this is this season 2022 to clarify.
2022 press conferences. Absolutely.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. I do think it sounds a little chaotic. It should be a great time. And Zach, you are going to moderate this tonight. So let's get right into it. Segment number 2 tonight. Guess the presser. Here it is. The timer is running. Your own head can be a pretty hostile place at times.
Me? No.
Yeah.
Sounds like something I've said.
Drew Gibson.
I feel like this is MPO Ricky Wysocki.
Eagle McMahon.
So we've got 3 guesses, and Jamie gets it at the last second. Wow,
right.
He knows his quote. Great guess.
Pressure to perform or to maybe push things too far at any point, and have you reached that point yet?
Definitely. I think if you ask most top-level athletes, they put a certain level of pressure on themselves. It's kind of, it's really all in your own head, but your own head can be a pretty, hostile place at times. So I definitely push myself. I get frustrated just like everyone else when I miss a shot. And even though I tell myself, I'm only out here playing these 3 events, trying to kind of ease back into it, maybe have some fun, I still have that competitor gene in me that wants to be at the top. So yeah, there definitely is pressure, but I try to, balance it out and walk that fine line.
So
Eagles
out to an
head is
early
hostile
lead.
place.
Quote number 2, I need to love myself. I need to be confident in myself, and the wins will come. Who said it?
Paige Pierce.
Paige Pierce.
That's my
we might
guess.
have
Texas States, right?
Anybody disagree?
You influenced me, but yes, now I remember it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Paige
Once you
Pierce
said it.
is the answer. Yes. 3
All right,
for 3 on
let's
that
listen
one,
in.
guys.
It means a lot to me. So to execute when it comes down to it and push past what everybody's saying, and I'm the only voice that matters, and so I need to love myself. I need to be confident in myself, and the wins will come.
Ooh.
Great quote, great interview.
Ricky
Now
Wysocki.
this one's short. I'm
Right
tired
on
of
it.
just playing good.
Kevin Jones. No. He's
think
not
it's-
tired of that.
This is weird because Macbeth had a
Oh, it's
version of
Macbeth
this.
said
Macbeth
this.
had a version of this, and Ricky did it in his post
Let's
round.
see. There it is.
All
Paul
right,
Macbeth.
there it is.
Let's go.
Last second guess.
Talk about this late surge.
Yeah, I'm tired of just like playing good and like top 10, top 5 or whatever. I want to get some
miserable, right?
wins, and that was the halfway point of the tournament, and I just really need to turn things around. So I just keep looking over to 18 because that mistake. But yeah, no, this is where I need to turn it around, and like I said, I'm tired of just top 10, top 5.
Wow. All right, here's the next one.
Gotta keep my head
I just
cool.
got to keep my head cool and play disc golf. This one's a little harder.
Ooh. Oh, that one's tricky.
Katrina Allen.
That's
One
a
guess with
good.
Kat.
Oh,
And I'm
yes.
gonna pull a blank.
The answer is Haley King.
All
That was
right.
the
Yes.
first.
I can
first
see
miss.
What's the game
Or-
plan coming into an event like
I
this?
see that.
Champions Cup.
I just got to keep my head cool and play disc golf. And I mean,
Love
anything
it.
can happen out here. You could be shooting your best, and one hole could ruin it for the rest of the round. I mean, you could be going into the win on 18 by like 5 strokes and still somehow lose. So just got to keep your head cool and push forward. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. All right.
Predictive. Next quote. That's what I do. I put myself in contention.
Ricky
Wow.
Wysocki.
Ricky Wysocki.
Ooh.
They're confident. The Graham brothers are confident.
No, but
in
the
this one.
time
Quick
is
guesses.
No, the time is ticking. You
I
gotta
feel like
go
that's
in.
so Ricky.
Oh,
Yes.
it's got to be. I was just trying to think of any other answer.
I was
That
too,
is so
but it
Rick.
sounded so
Ricky, you
Rick.
said yesterday you wanted to build each round, each throw. How are you able to do that today?
Well, yeah, I'm starting to gain some confidence. I don't know if you saw the last couple of holes. I made some clutch putts, and that's what I do. I put myself in contention, and I feel like that's where I set myself apart. Is situationally,
That's what
I
I
make the
do.
shots when it needs to happen, and those last 2 holes were where I needed to make some strokes. So I was just happy that I could carry some momentum into tomorrow, and like I said, I'm just proud that I just fought through and made those clutch putts at the end.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
Well, we got a momentum too from Ricky, so you can scratch that off your bingo if you're
I
playing.
was waiting to see that. Yeah, momentum. But hey, that's all Ricky does. He just puts himself in contention. And you know what? He's not lying. So like, I can't say anything about it. Good for
Number 1 player in the world quotes. I put myself in contention. I'm just tired of playing good. Amazing.
I love it.
For
Oh.
sure.
That was great, Zach. Those last couple, you guys, the Graham brothers got it. I was a little tripped up on the Ricky one, but
Well, I
now
pulled
that
a
I hear it
blank
in
on the
hindsight-
I pulled a blank on the Haley King quote. But here's the great thing. Sometimes you look at it and you know exactly who said it. It probably depends on what it is. Sometimes you pull a blank, but then as soon as the clip goes up, you go, "Oh yeah," right? Like that's exactly something Haley King would say in that context. It's amazing how much we get to know these players. It's certainly not everything about them, but in the disc golf context, you can start to recognize, right? What
And
they say, their personality, style. It's pretty fun.
Totally. I was placing all of them except was Eagles at Jonesboro. I placed all of the other
Ooh.
tournaments, and I couldn't remember if it was Jonesboro.
If they're quotes
or-
from this year, like Eagle hasn't played that much.
I mean, there's only 2 events, I guess.
Yeah. I believe it was from Jonesboro. He ultimately DNF'd at Jonesboro, right? And so it was the press conference
Oh,
he
that
gave
must have been
before
it.
the event.
Oh wow. So Eagle gives that at the presser and DNFs. Haley sort of predicts the whole 18 meltdown at Champions
At the
Cup
event,
from
she
Tatar.
at that quote. Out.
Wow.
I
It's like
was
the
just
players know
gonna
what they're
say,
talking about.
I was just gonna say, Haley, don't talk about it. Stop talking. Well, that was a whole bunch of fun there. Zach, do you have any final thoughts on that game? Who won that game? Do you have any opinions?
Man, it was it's pretty tight there. I think Jamie had 2 early ones, so I think he did end up ultimately squeaking it out. But you guys got him on Rick, so I think we'll need to develop some sort of scoring system here for next week. But on round 1, I'm gonna have to give the win to Jamie.
Yes.
All right.
Start
to
good
make this a
early, fade
regular.
late, baby.
Yeah, we'll have to make this a regular segment. Are you guys ready to move into the Silver Series talk?
Let's
Think
talk.
so.
All right, let's do it. So here we go. Silver Series event just happened, Masters Cup, which it was great to see still on the tour, but on the Silver Series. And it was also great to see that it was able to be live streamed during the final round. There was questions about that, but it was able to happen. And we see there have been 15 Silver Series events since the inception of, or the implementation of, the Silver Series Tour, which are we calling it a tour? Is it a tour? How do you guys see that? Is it the Silver Series Tour? Anybody?
I think it's a
opinions?
different tier of Pro Tour events. I think there's a
Okay.
bigger discussion to be had for opinions on what it could be. But
Okay.
right now, it's a Pro Tour event. And then there's a second tier. And one of the obvious indications, aside from the Pro Tour putting out their own press conference and communication, everything from trial events to, like, there's lots of reasons to do it, but you get 25% of the points, right? And so in and of itself, it's a lower tier. That's my opinion.
Okay, so it's a tier of Pro Tour at this current stage. The question that we're kind of putting up here, it's a little bit open-ended, and we can see as the conversation trends where we go with it. But do Silver Series, do we see a pattern? Is there a jump start to success? We saw Ganon Burr take it down this past weekend, as well as Sarah Hokum. Sarah Hokum is pretty established as a professional FPO athlete, disc golf athlete, taking down many events, as she even said in her recent social media post, Josh, that you alluded to earlier. But Ganon Burr, this is his first Disc Golf Pro Tour event that he has won, also coming out of the gate strong at Las Vegas. There are some stats here. I know we came ready to talk about it. Jamie, do you want to kick us off? What's your opinion on this?
Well, I think you got to start with the eye test here. And of course, you want to say yes, that this is an indicator of what's to come for these players. If you're good enough to get a win at a, how do you go up through the levels? You start at your regional events, your C tiers, your B tiers, you get to the A tiers, then you get to a tour level event. And then if you just need to go shy of playing against the best in the world, the Pauls, the Pages, the Rickies and Katrinas, etc., then a Silver Series seems logically like the next stepping stone to where that is. And it's provided a lot of excitement. I mean, you could see Ganon Burr winning. You could see Albert Tom winning in MPO. Over in FPO, you've got Stacy Haas as a great young new talent. Missy Gannon getting her season started after not, kind of being out of the conversation in the beginning of this year. So you want to see these players play well, take that step towards getting a full Elite Series victory and then hopefully a major. But the stats, that's where it's going to come in and determine really what it says. I think from the eye test, we are always more optimistic about somebody. Like, tell me right now that you guys aren't more optimistic about Ganon Burr this weekend in Stockton because of last weekend.
For sure. Yeah, I think right. So I know we keep saying stats and we've probably have some of our homegrown analysis, which we'll share, but similar, Jamie, it's like, yeah, they just won an event. And so do you feel like, right, that Ganon should continue to play well or better, which is maybe hard to do for him because he's had a good year from here on out, or the same thing for Sarah Hokum, which may actually be a more interesting case because if you actually trend her results this year, which I say if because I have, right? And she has consistently performed better almost every single event with very few exceptions this year that she's played in, which is 8 events, right? So, and she commented, Matt, you acknowledged like this propelled her in the past. She used that word, right? So whether or not stats back it up, I think players have a sense for Ricky's momentum, right? Phrase, Sarah saying propel, for Ganon, almost a win to start the season. He's played very well, but does this feel like a breakthrough for him, getting a monkey off his back? In fact, I'm pretty sure his final putt at this event was not with his putter, but was with the disc that he actually threw on the final hole at Las Vegas that slid out of bounds. So you're not telling me he didn't remember that event and come back here and get that off of his back. So we can talk about stats because it's interesting, but I think the players do have a sense of, look, a win is a win, Silver Series or not, and Silver Series is as good a chance as any to get a win.
Here's my take, and I want to throw it over to Zach and get his opinion on this. My take right now is that Silver Series not being its own tour is hard to separate the value difference because the players are still showing up there. Look at the strength of field at this event. Unfortunately, Ricky having to drop due to Lyme disease flare-up in his legs. but the field was strong. And Ganon Burr recognized that in his post-win speech. He said, I know the field's strong, but I want to win the one that has the title attached to it of Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series. And when players are doing that, it makes me know that they feel really good about the win on the Silver Series because the field was there. But there's something about the title that separates it to them. And I get that. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is when it comes down to it, you asked Jamie, do I feel better and more optimistic about him now? It's not because it was a Silver Series win. It's because of the field that he beat. He beat Paul McBeth. He beat almost any pro MPO player there. He beat every MPO player there. But I mean, almost champion. the whole world of best players were there. So when you look at it that way, I'm more optimistic because of the strength that he took down, not because it was a good stepping stone. I mean, look at his year, as Josh said, a great year for him. Zach, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I think I'm going to end up agreeing with a lot of those points. Winning matters, field matters, right? Whether or not you win a Silver Series or a high-level A tier, I'm not sure if that matters as much. When I'm answering the question, do Silver Series matter? Do they indicate future success? I have to say not inherently. I think you have to weigh a player in context to see if this win is propelling them, is an advancement on previous placements. Are they placing top 5? Are they placing top 10 at different events? Then when they get that Silver Series win, you can look at it in context and go, yes, this player is on the precipice of breaking through. But on the other hand, I don't think that it's inherently always going to be the case. I think you can look at past Silver Series winners. I did a little bit of digging over the weekend and noticed that Anthony Barella won the very first Silver Series event, and great win for him. However, I don't know if it indicated a plethora of wins on the Disc Golf Pro Tour after that, right? So when I'm answering, do Silver Series matter? Definitely. Do they indicate future success? I think in context, but not inherently.
I totally agree. By the way, Anthony Barella with 2 podium finishes, 1 being a win. So yes, I mean, but no Elite Series, no Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series, to clarify. Josh, what do you think about this? You want to take this a little bit deeper for us?
Yeah, so let's just talk about a couple numbers and not really too much at length, because as you mentioned, the long-term history of Silver Series is not all that long, right? So the total number of events to look at a real statistical trend. But even just this year, right, the question that you see up on the screen, do Silver Series jumpstart success? And so one way to look at it is, how did players who podiumed at a Silver Series, like, did their trajectory change? Right, at all during that year? And really the answer is no, right? So if you actually look at it, there's a few players, for example, let's go back to Belton, the first Silver Series, like Dickerson and Wysocki, first and second place. So before Belton, there were only 2 events, and they were averaging around 8th and 9th place. Actually, well, yeah, that's their average, right, between those events. Hey, and then after Belton, so they podiumed, they performed better. But given the whole context, do any of us feel like the Silver Series jump-started Chris Dickerson and Ricky Wysocki's success? No. And so you look at some other names maybe a little lower down the list, and we actually see contrasting results. So for example, McBeth and Nico LaCastro actually have performed worse since their performance at Belton. And so statistically, from what I'm looking at, small data sample, I could do other events, but you don't need to hear me ramble on about that. I don't think we see anything that suggests that happens. To Zach's point, I think the broader context in the player's specific situation could absolutely have some bearing. If they're finally figuring out their discs, or they've been an injury and they're back at a Silver Series, right? So there could be other factors, but it's not like, because here's what I feel like the implication of this question is. I do not think Silver Series is a chance at an easy win that can then propel future success. There's too much broader context, and so Silver Series in and of themselves don't do that.
Okay, and I'm going to pass this over to Jamie to react to this. The only players that I feel like are on this list of winning a Silver Series but not an Elite that could actually start setting this trend that we're kind of asking about here, a jump start to success, would be players like Anthony Barella, Ganon Burr, Albert Tam, and Dan Schlitter. Those are the names that I'd say, hey, they won a Silver Series. They haven't won anything bigger, but they could still do that. Maybe that was their jump start. Do you have any feelings towards those players?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna respectfully, tip my cap to Dan Schlitter and then kind of put him aside because of all the names you said, that's the one that's really not on tour. He's not trying to go, at least that we've seen so far. Maybe that changes. Let me replace that with an FPO player, Stacy Haas, who, like Albert Tom, won the Tallahassee Open earlier this season. And funny enough, as I looked into Albert Tom and Stacy Haas as representative samples of this group we're talking about, they are placing either roughly or exactly the same as before they won the Silver Series. I think, Josh, you looked this up as well, but Albert Tom, 41st place average finish in the 4 events leading up to the Tallahassee Open that he's competed in his 4 starts since, 41.75, round up to 42nd place for Albert. And Stacy has something similar. I think it's from 24th to 26th. So it's very interesting because even when we scroll down to the players who we expect, like remember when they won that just, it was like 6 weeks ago, we were super stoked for them. We're saying, look at this. It's a breakthrough for another Estonian player, this time in MPO. It's a breakthrough for a young player who's looking to put their name out in front of the world. And they've sort of, I don't want to say regressed because certainly winning is, a progression, not a regression. But they are finding similar finishes when you sort of average it all out with all the other events there. So maybe it is something to go back to Ricky and the momentum. Like you already have to have some of that ability to generate the momentum, and then you can translate. So it will be really interesting to bring this all the way full circle to see what a player like Sarah Hokum does in these next events coming up on the West Coast swing versus a player like Ganon Burr. Because though they had some similarities in the way they took down the event this year or this past weekend, they are at very different places in their careers.
Okay. Zach, I've already did this in the pre-show with Josh and Jamie, so I'm going to put you on the spot with this one. Since the inception of the Silver Series in the beginning of 2020, when it started, there is a player who has gone on to win 6 Elite Series Disc Golf Pro Tour events, but never played a Silver Series to get a podium or a top finish, a first place. Who is that player?
So there's a player who has never played a Silver Series, but has won 6 Pro Tours?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Tribute for days on this show.
Yeah, I want to say Paige Pierce, but I know she's got more wins than that. So you got me. I'm stumped.
So to clarify, Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite. So it's a little bit different. If we go back, there were still some national tours back in 2020, but we're talking about Eagle McMahon. That is a player who is picky and choosy, if I can use that phrase, with his events, and he's always been that way. And I think there's something to be said for that. And this is where the conversation can take a slight turn here. What do you see as the projection for the future of this event? Josh, do you have any comments on that? The Silver Series?
Well, I think there's a bigger discussion, which I'm not going to actually dive into, on what is the Silver Series. You asked at the beginning, what is it? Is it a tour, et cetera? I think there's lots of interesting...
what would you like it to become?
I don't know if I'm prepared to say that.
On the spot.
Only because I think it requires... I think there's a lot of angles. What I would like to see at some point in the future, so emphasis on that, I think there is probably a separate tour with a different purpose. But I don't know if that's the Silver Series or not, right? So that's kind of the point. It's like you could still maintain a Silver Series for other reasons. It's all about why the events exist. What is the Pro Tour finding the value in these events, and what are the players finding the value? So you could literally have an elite level, a Silver Series, and then have another tour. Or you might say, let's actually move the Silver Series off.
And Jamie, there might be a different reason that players are playing these Silver Series right now than just the tier alone. What do you think about the payouts at these Silver Series?
Well, I think that's a benefit, and that's why you're seeing some of these events. I mean, you could easily call them Silver Series Plus. Look at the strength of field in Belton. Look at the strength of the field here at Masters Cup. Now, Masters Cup might be a single truly unique thing because it was the longest running national tour event, if I'm correct. It was between the Masters Cup and the Memorial for the most number of years on the PDGA national tour before, obviously the tours merged this season. So, Masters Cup does have that caveat where it's like the special place in the heart. And it is a very unique brand of disc golf that I think a lot of players want to still see be a part of the touring scene. But at the end of the day, I think it does come down to money a lot of the times. Sure, we have Macbeth making 10 years, 10 million, and, Ricky's getting $1 million a year. And, we've got some of the FPO players topping $500,000 on their contracts now, which is awesome. Like, go get in your bag, get your money.
And Paige Pierce is unknown, but you have to speculate she's making a good chunk as well.
She's got to be between those two numbers I just mentioned somewhere, right? Pure speculation though. So, congrats to all those players. That's awesome. Get what you deserve and get what you've earned. But that's not the situation for most players on tour still today. So it's really important for those players to have an in-between week event. Ganon Burr won $3,000 at this event. Sarah Holcomb, I think, just shy of $2 million. And that's like pretty close to where the national tour payouts were when that series existed. So it's important to keep that context.
It's totally interesting because you're going to continue to see the top athletes in disc golf continue to show up to these silver series. There's not a real large deterrent, except for our earlier season conversation about the possible fatigue mentally and physically. So that is something.
So
opening this up. Yeah, I was gonna say, opening this up. Final thoughts on this topic, Josh.
Right. So I'll ask a question and then I will offer an answer. Do you think these players, and when I say these, I'm going to cap it somewhere. So for MPO, I'm going to actually look at how many players would qualify for the championship. So for the top 32 current point standing players in MPO, do they have a better opportunity at finishing higher by placement at Silver Series events than they do at Elite Series events? So in other words, hey, if I normally average like 10th as a finish, am I more likely to finish in a higher position at Silver Series? In other words, you asked, like, what's potentially the draw? Well, if I can actually do better at these events, that's potentially a draw, both for cash payout and point standings, which, by the way, points ultimately are a way to get into events, which is all about cash, right? So, like, in the end of the day, that's why they're chasing that. So do they have a chance at doing better? And then I have some stats to give you.
I think there's a slight chance, but it's not great because, as I mentioned, the field is still showing up at a lot of these events. Maybe the Music City Open was lesser and a few others, but the chances, it is greater for them. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and you bring up a good point of context on that. I think we have, as Jamie mentioned, kind of Silver Series and Silver Series Plus level events. The Open at Tallahassee, maybe not as strong of a field as Santa Cruz Masters Cup, right? And so if that's the case, then I'd say it kind of depends on which Silver Series, right? I think we saw a little bit of a trend last year as the season goes on. Players maybe pull a Silver Series off the schedule that they had planned on attending. So I do think it is marginal. You probably have a little bit of a opportunity to finish better at a Silver Series than you would at an Elite Series, but I think that chance probably goes up depending on the event. And as we get deeper in the season, I do think we'll probably see a similar trend to last year. If players need an extra week off here or there.
I imagine Josh has an average for us, but Jamie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you would want to say that if you're playing well at the higher level and like more stacked field, then you would do better at the Silver Series, but something tells me Josh has an ace up his sleeve here.
Well, no, I think you're all generally correct, but here's where there's some nuances. So if you actually take the top 16 MPO by point standings, they average nearly 7 positions better on their leaderboard at Silver Series events. Okay, so great. You might expect that. Mm-hmm. But listen to this. The next, so the 17th through the 32nd, right, where it's actually a tighter race for points, they average nearly 10 places better. So in other words, that is actually a chance. If you're like in that chase and you're not the top 16, you can actually perform better on average than anybody else. And so the point is go out and chase that cash and go out and chase those points, because statistically, you're probably not surprised, but you have a better chance at moving up the leaderboard higher than somebody like, and by the way, this is why, like if Chris Dickerson is winning, he can't move much higher on average, right? So statistically, it makes sense. But that's the point. So you can actually gain places on your competitors. And by the way, in FPO, we see a similar trend. The top half, 3 places better. The bottom half, 6.5 places better. And by the way, points are discounted at Silver Series, but listen to this. In the bottom half of these groups, when I say bottom half, again, the half that's in the chase for the championship, overall, you're talking, there's like a 5-point difference for each place. For MPO and an FPO, it's 7 points. And winning a Silver Series gets you 25 points. And even the difference between first and sixth place is a 10-point gap, enough to move you up a position. So last week we talked about the points chase. I realize this is a little bit of a jump off of the original question for Silver Series, but the point is it may be a jump start for something else, such as chasing to get in the match play championship, chasing to get in the championship itself, or maybe even All-Star next year. And so it may be a different opportunity to jumpstart something besides just winning on the podium. Something to consider.
That is some great statistical work, Josh. I think our show has just been upgraded thanks to that. That's
Graham Mando, baby.
Graham Mando.
Stats.
Our friends over at Stat Mando helping out every now and then, but we got Josh. That's right. So, Zach, any closing thoughts on this topic? I know we've opened it wide up, but you're the guest tonight, so you'll get the last thoughts on this before we get to the closeout.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just react, I would say, and say, those points matter so much at the margins for players trying to get into the Tour Championship. Think about a person like Nathan Queen, right? Anything can happen once you get into the Tour Championship. And so if you're not chasing those points at Silver Series events and you get just edged out, you have no shot. You're not in the dance. And so I think ultimately, kind of to the point that we're making, those Silver Series events maybe they might not propel you to winning next week on the DGPT, but they could propel you to something much bigger if you can continue to build on the success throughout the season.
Fantastic. All right, let's take it to the closeout where we're going to talk about what's coming up here. Zach, I just gave you the closeout, but now you also get the closeout. Tell us, how are we going to watch the next and upcoming event? What is it and where can we watch?
Absolutely. So the tour is coming to my neck of the woods, Central California, for the OTB Open. OTB Open will be this Friday through Sunday. We'll be live on Disc Golf Network, final day live on YouTube. And of course, you can always look out for all sorts of post-produced coverage out on the YouTube. So very exciting. Should be a great additional stop, another Elite Series event on the DGPT.
Players got to warm up their arms, right? Getting back to the long courses here. Long and technical. Looking forward to it.
That's right. Any speculation? Are we going to see Eagle? Probably not.
No. That's my speculation.
How about Ricky Wysocki?
Yes.
I think
I think we'll see.
We're split.
I think we'll see him. I think we'll see him.
All right.
I'm not saying I think he'll win. I think we'll see him.
Oh, fantastic. All right. It was so much fun. Glad to have you tonight, Zach, Josh, and Jamie, as always. Until next week, everybody, have fun on the course, and we'll see you back here. Have a great week.